Live.
All right. All right.
Okay. Okay.
I
Okay.
love how you
It
have your
says you're
hand up just in
live.
case.
It says I'm live. Are we live? Hello. Okay. Uh I'm looking at the stream. I can see myself. I can see John. Can you guys see us? Can you guys hear us? Please let us know right now.
Please.
Hello, Naif Al7RB. Can you hear us and see us? You're live. We're live. Yes, you're right. Thank you very much. Luke, hi. Thank you so much for being here. Cool Saver. Hey guys, we are indeed live. Okay. Can you hear everyone properly? John, please say something.
What's up, people? How's everybody doing? Is
Okay.
everything good?
Audio is good. Okay, okay.
All right.
Let's pray to the I don't know, Discord gods, internet gods, hardware gods. There's 10 different things that were wrong, but we figured it out slowly
Yes,
but
sir.
surely. Okay. Well, John, it's easy to forget, but why did we gather here today? Uh,
We are going to be talking about the future of God of War.
that's right. First of all, John, welcome to the channel for the first time ever here. I had Cuba here, I had Zesty here, I had Shane here, but never John. It's a big deal for me.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
We've talked so many times. I've never. Wow, that's crazy.
Not here.
Could have.
Shane hosted us on his channel. We've done stuff on the Zevnir's channel. Never just the two of us. Just the two of us. We can make it for try. Sorry, I'm too embarrassed
Holy
to sing
shit.
it properly. Anyway, this is going on for too long. So let's just. I got a couple questions lined up.
hmm
Let's not beat around the bush. Let's start
All
big.
right.
John, I really like you also. I wanted to say because I think we're alike because we like to think about the future. I love your
Oh yeah.
comics. I love the stuff that you did, imagining the future of Kratos, the future of Atreus. I love the one where like his statue, the drawing from
Oh
the end
yeah,
of
yeah,
Ragnarok
yeah.
becomes a reality. That's a very cool image. I just love that
Oh
you're
my
doing stuff
god.
like that.
It's really cool. The artist, she did like absolutely amazing on it. When I was trying to tell her how I wanted it,
Yeah.
she's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go fucking wild and just take what you said and just like make it 100." So
Yeah, no, it's
she did a
awesome.
great job on those comics.
Yeah, so I just know you like to think about the minute details about where the characters are going. I'm really into that stuff as well. I want to get into it, but first, let's talk big. Uh,
Okay.
what do you think right now? What is Santa Monica cooking when it comes to God of War? Maybe not even just God of War. What do you think? How many projects? What are they? What is your prediction right now?
My prediction, I'm just gonna start big as well. I think we're definitely gonna get another DLC. I definitely think I'm really
Wow.
hoping so. I think
Mm,
that there's a lot of setups for things that they want to do. That I also want to see. Right? I think Atreus is a big, you know, hell that they really want to dive more into his story.
hmm.
Uh, so I'm thinking that they're gonna do a DLC on that.
Wow.
But in terms of Kratos' story, I think he's definitely gonna get his own game. I definitely think we're gonna see like a sequel of some kind. Uh, I think like multiple mythologies is definitely a possibility with
Yep.
like all the little shit that they put all over 2018, especially Ragnarok,
Oh yeah.
like just giving us lore of all these different places. So uh Kratos' story is definitely gonna, be its own game. And I think Egypt is gonna be a big actor in the next games. I think they might have multiple mythologies, but I'm
Hmm.
definitely leaning more towards Egypt's gonna be a focus. I'm not sure if you feel the same way.
I mean, that's certainly the consensus, right, in the community. I
Mm.
mean, it's pretty much, I don't know, like Egypt. If you did a poll, Egypt would probably be 90%, and 10% would be any other mythology. Uh, Hi, cool. Say, okay, John Kratos is here. Hi, John Kratos, mid lasagna.
Gone.
Vanaheim Crocker is back. John Kratos, yeah, mid lasagna. That's a zesty thing from the old days. I think. Yeah, that was a classic.
Yeah, I remember.
So I'm just interested because you said DLC. I personally would like from them to move on from Ragnarok because it's
Mhm.
for the sole reason that it's a PS4 game. I would like for them
Yeah.
to move on to have a PS5 full on thing. And also, I think the mechanics of Ragnarok, if we're talking about Atreus specifically, I believe if we're getting a solo adventure by him or for him, there needs to be a certain amount of overhaul in terms of how he plays.
I totally agree. Yeah. Get rid of the bow, right? The bow as a melee weapon, I think is cool,
Mhm.
but I think he needs something that like defines him as a character more than just the bow itself.
Right.
You know?
100%. I think it's going to be a part of his journey, finding his own weapon, finding his own identity away from Kratos. Obviously, the bow's his mother's gift. That's like a part of
Yeah.
him, but he needs to find something of his own. I like imagining him with a katana personally.
Thought about that. Like I thought about Freyr's weapon because in Ragnarok, it
Right.
seemed like that's what they were doing at first, but then they just said no,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird.
Yeah. Eric said that Atreus is supposed to feel like a companion in Ragnarok, which is
Yeah, yeah.
obviously
He was supposed to be a main
compromises.
character.
Yeah, compromises the amount of stuff he can do and the amount of fun, unfortunately, you can have with him. But that's why I really think that Atreus, if we're getting, it's pretty much guaranteed, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
we get an Atreus game, it's going to be PS5 exclusive, so that you can take advantage of all the SSD, do crazy stuff, and also overhaul his gameplay, so he feels more like a main character rather than a companion.
Yeah. I look at it kind of like I'm not sure if you played it, but a game called Ratchet and Clank that
Yeah,
was
of
on the
course, of
PS5.
course, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of had like these moments where like the entire world would change and it'd just be like
Hmm.
a drop of a hat with like no loading, right? And I feel like Ragnarok, even though I do like that people played it on PS4 because a lot of people don't have
Yeah.
PS5s at that time. I think it's time to move on, right?
Mm,
Imagine how good the game could be if there wasn't,
right.
no loading, better mechanics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you on there.
Hmm. My standard for PS5 kind of level bombastic thing is the Sandman fight in Spider-Man 2. The recent one,
That was
because
sick.
that obviously reminds me of like a Titan fight of Kronos. Really, obviously Kronos worked on PS3, but like the when he throws Miles and Miles is like flying through the half of the city, that kind of
Yeah, that
stuff.
was kind of sick.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
That's kind of the stuff I think God of War can lean into, and
Mhm.
PS5 will allow that. I believe. Cuba says, "Hi, Cuba. First of all, thank you for being here.
Cuba.
I just hope they don't give Egypt to Atreus. That's pretty funny.
No,
Uh,
no, 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 no.
uh, it would be cool if they had a game that had multiple myths in the game and you could travel from myth to myth like realms. That's actually the next thing I wanted
Mhm.
to talk to you about. So, before Ragnarok came out, we all thought that it's going to be the end of the Norse saga, right? But looking at it now, especially after Valhalla, it doesn't really make much sense to leave the Norse realm. First of all, because Kratos is the god of war now, the Norse god of war, and also because there's so many loose ends, right? We got Sindri unresolved, Thrud got Mjolnir, pretty big deal. Clearly, there's something going on there. The setup of the what is it called, the
The
council.
council
Yeah,
that they have.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. There is a lot
Mhm.
of stuff still left to do in the Norse realm. So do you think, like, I personally don't think we're going to be entirely leaving the Norse realm like we did Greece. What do you think?
Yeah.
How are they going to approach that aspect of it compared to introducing new mythologies?
I think I totally agree with everything you said, and I think that the next game it has to start in Norse mythology, right? I
Yeah.
think it has to absolutely start there because it's where Kratos is. We have to see how we evolve, how that world has evolved in those characters, because you can't just completely abandon the entire concept,
Right.
right? I feel like it has to start in Norse. We have to see how things have evolved. Now, where they take the character, there's so many reasons why they could, be leaving the realms, right, for specific reasons. But I do think a chunk of the game has to take place in Norse mythology and like the Lake
Mm-hmm.
of Nine and all these characters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The world serpent's big as fuck, right? You can't exactly hide the world serpent,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so that's what I think.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting the conversation about having multiple mythologies. That's something I've been thinking about. Luke is bringing it up in the chat that we're gonna have an Atreus adventure that's going to definitely introduce a new mythology, whatever it is, either Egypt or which Cuba doesn't want, or Japan, or maybe I don't know Aztec, whatever it is. But at the same time, if not again, not if, or when Kratos is going to get his own game, there's going to be certainly an aspect of him being the Norse god of war in the 9-8 realms now, seeing how the world has moved on, what's Freya doing, what's going on with Thrud and all that sort of stuff, but also have an element of introducing new mythologies as well. They have the Unity Stone. So
Yeah,
the
yeah. And
traveling,
tier.
yeah, exactly. Traveling through realms is like nothing now. So I think, do you think? So basically, my thought is, I think they're gonna open up the world of God of War mythologies really quickly now. We're not gonna linger. We're not gonna have trilogies that are based and rooted in one mythology. They're gonna go here. We're gonna jump here, and they're gonna kind of start building up this mythological world that they kind of been doing with the cookbook and everything, right? Uh,
Oh, goddamn the cookbook. Yeah.
you're the only one who talked about it. You're the only one who has it. It's cool.
And no one cares. Like,
I
because I
care. It's
think
interesting.
if you let me go on like a rant for a second, I think with all of the little details and those subtle hints about like the world and how it works. For example, like Odin and Thor, they know about Kratos' past, right?
Yeah.
It was confirmed like right in the very start of the fight.
Yeah.
Um, Mimir, he was around Athens. We learned that in Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
And Mimir knew Kratos' story before he even knew that he was on Kratos' belt,
Right.
right? You have all of these characters that heard of Kratos, or like even in conversations in the Lake of Nine, where Mimir is like, "Oh, I heard that you wielded all kinds of magic of all the elements and shit like that, and you went back in time." But that's an exaggeration, right? You didn't actually go back in time.
Right.
All of these characters, they know who Kratos is.
Yeah.
Even in like the Fallen God comics, that weird ass god that just kind of made Kratos do his chores, saying, "Oh, this is your destiny to do it." It wasn't exactly his destiny, but
Mm-hmm.
that hippo, somebody needed to kill it.
Oh yeah.
But that character knew who Kratos was as well, and I
Tough.
think the perfect way for them to kind of explore the rest of like his story is to kind of introduce these different mythologies that's all kind of has this knowledge of Kratos, right?
Mm.
They all have to know who Kratos is,
Of
right? They're all
course.
fucking scared of this guy for whatever reason,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So I think that's kind of how you continue on his character, him continuing to face like the shit that happened on in his past, everyone kind of hating him for it. And now they hear through like, I don't know, God Facebook or some shit. Like they can hear that, oh, Kratos has, destroyed Odin, right? And he's taken over as God of War. So that's
Interesting.
two mythologies that Kratos has fucked over. So are we
Right.
just gonna let this guy just stay here and do whatever he wants? What if he comes to us next,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it, right? There's so much story they can do with all these mythologies, and all the hints that's all over Ragnarok in 2018, the
Right.
God of War cookbook. Shit, we even have descriptions of what pharaohs are like because of Tyr in the cookbook. Right, he
Mm-hmm.
describes them a little bit. He says like they argue a lot, and I went there to try to bring the light and the dark elves together because they're always bickering, and the pharaohs in Egypt are always bickering. So how the hell do they get along so much? And his plan didn't end up working, obviously.
Right.
But it's these little details and hints about all these other places. It has to happen, right? There's no way
Of
it's gonna be
course.
just one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we saw an Egyptian god already in a comic book. Like we, at
Mm-hmm.
least we know that they're gonna have animal heads. I think Mimir also confirms it at some point, but like the seeds are there, right? Like we already know
Yeah.
things about parts of this world. We already saw a Greek goddess and an Egyptian god in the same place at the same time. So
Crazy.
this like mix up of mythologies is not gonna be anything like out of this world at this point, right? It's something that we've seen and heard plenty. Tier describing it a lot, so I think there is no fault in going a lot of places pretty quickly. Like we can have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
games in Egypt or have like mashup of mythologies in one game, have several hubs, right? Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think
What
that's
do you
an
think
issue.
about this idea that like remember that little scene in 2018 when you're going down the elevator into Tyr's treasure room
Hmm.
and you look at there's like a big ass mirror of all these places Tyr has been. Do you think that has like the possibility of becoming like the main mythologies? Like what was it, like Mayan
Yeah,
mythology,
yeah, of course. There
Japan?
was Japan, Celtic, Egyptian, of course, and yeah, I think Mayan was there, or Aztec. Yeah, certainly. I
Aztec,
know
yeah,
there
yeah.
are major mythologies that fans kind of gravitate to. There's also the
Mhm.
triptych, Tyr's triptych, which had Greek, like the God of War signs. So there was
Oh
Greek,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Celtic, Japan, and something else. I don't remember. Did I say Egypt? Egypt.
You just
So
say Egypt.
yeah, yeah. No, Egypt was definitely there. The eye of
Mhm.
either Ra or Horus. I don't
Horus.
remember which one. There's several eyes. So yeah, it's not like they've been softly like preparing us for a
Mhm.
while. It's
Did you
not.
catch the side quest stuff in Ragnarok? How you have to pick up all these different artifacts from
Yeah.
all these different
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mythologies,
Mm-hmm.
and then like if you read the Egyptian one, it says that the gods there they rule with like peace and humility, but you shouldn't always believe gossip. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
are they good or bad? Like,
Yeah.
and then I remember in 2018, Mimir was like, "There's many gods there," and Trace is like, "Are they good?" And Mimir's like, "It's not that
Not
simple."
that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's exactly. It's interesting because, I mean, when
Mhm.
I don't know much about Egyptian mythology right now. I'm reserving learning about mythology for when they reveal what it is.
Same, same, same,
But
same.
I like the. I think a lot of people are interested in the story of Osiris and Set, of like that brotherly, like two brothers, and Set betrays Osiris, and he like throws his body parts around the Egyptian realm. That kind of sounds like a video with Game Quest a little bit,
Oh
right?
hell yeah, hell yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
and it's there's certainly potential. It's interesting. Let me read some. There's a lot of chat going on, so either that
Mhm.
or Egypt launches an attack on Midgard in the intro of the next game, and that will set up Kratos
Yeah.
wanting to travel to Egypt. Blah blah. Yeah, that's
Mm.
certainly. I think for him as a god of war, it's important to show
Mhm.
him defend his home for the.
Yeah, I made a comic out of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he rarely defends as the general or as the god of war. He often
Mhm.
attacks, right? Even in Ragnarok, he attacked Asgard as the general. So
Mhm.
protecting your people is a different kind of thing than going in and killing everyone. So it's a different kind of challenge, and he has to prove to
Mhm.
himself and the realms that he's a capable god of war, because it was not an easy decision for him to make in Valhalla. So an invasion is certainly a popular idea that makes a lot of sense from a character standpoint as well.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, and I think when it comes to Kratos going to different mythologies, right? You have Tyr. This fucking guy has been to all of these places and everyone loves him, right? Everyone kind of looks at him like, oh yeah, we know this guy, we're familiar with him. So Tyr
Hmm.
can always act as like that character, that bridge for Kratos and other people.
Exactly.
But in my mind, it's kind of like even with Tyr, they know Kratos' legacy, so will Tyr kind of like be enough to, bridge everybody
Mm.
together in a
Yeah.
way? And I think that's kind of where a plot can happen. So I do definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and I think it will be also important for Kratos to prove it to himself. Like other people
Yeah.
can like talk shit, whatever, but to him, like he needs to prove to himself first of all that he can be the god that the realms need him to be, basically, or the world really, because
Yeah,
Kratos
yeah.
is pretty important in the grand scheme of things. They could have a
Well,
game.
yeah.
They could have a game where all the mythologies attack the Norse. All the mythologies. Okay, we're going big. Yeah, Arby
No one
surface.
likes Kratos.
No, I guess not. Not really. He has to prove it.
Mhm.
What weapons will Kratos have in the next game? That's an interesting question. Uh,
Mm.
Kratos has three weapons right now. They are different elements. We have a wind weapon, a nice weapon, and a fire weapon. So I guess we have an earth weapon that's left,
Uh,
right?
of the Avatar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We need a water weapon now. That's what we need. We need to like take water and start whipping enemies. That's what I think.
Uh huh. Um.
What weapons will he have? It's kind of hard to like really think about that because he has so many already, you know, and I don't think he's gonna get rid of them anytime soon.
No.
yeah, so and every weapon he has is kind of like a symbol for himself in a way. The axe, for Faye when he first came here, the blades for his past, the spear, it's literally has his own blood inside of
Oh
it.
yeah.
So it's like all these weapons kind of have to resemble Kratos. That's kind of what the developers want to do,
Yeah.
right? Which is, I believe, that's what Eric Williams said why he decided not to give Kratos Mjolnir because it wouldn't make sense story
Mhm.
wise.
Mhm.
Even though I wanted it to happen, right? It makes sense,
Mhm.
but that's what I think. I can't really envision a weapon that Kratos would really use.
I
I'm not
think
sure if you can.
I think thinking about mechanics, it would be interesting to give him a barbarian hammer kind of weapon, a super slow heavy hitter weapon, because his weapons right now are pretty quick. So maybe
Mm,
to add like a damaging weapon, like a really
yeah.
like slow motherfucker, you know?
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, I'm not a big
Just like,
fan of slow weapons, honestly. Like Jedi Survivor
um,
kind of did that with different lightsabers. So
mhm.
that could be an interesting inspiration as well, because he has like a area of effect. Like blades are more like crowd control. Yeah, and
Yeah, I love Jedi Survivor. I know exactly what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
and
Yeah,
having like the cross guard blade, like that he has to hold with both
the
hands,
cross
it's like,
guard.
you know, that kind of thing. I think that's it's
Yeah.
a good power fantasy, and
Mhm.
it works perfectly for Kratos.
I'll be honest with you. Every game I play and there's a big like weapon like that, like a great sword, I always use it.
Yeah,
I love to just hit one enemy and just see the damage just destroy them.
yeah.
So I don't know. I'm a big fan of that.
I don't. I have a problem with it because I have to like dodge a lot, and with like slow weapons,
Mhm.
I never choose my timing right, so I always get I always
Yeah.
get hit back.
I get you,
I
bro.
like something like quick, I like boom, and you're out.
Mhm.
So speaking of the Norse characters, we kind of touched upon the fact that there's a lot of unfinished business, really, in the Norse realms. Cuba brought up Forseti, for example, who's still probably
Yeah.
running around somewhere. Is there a character specifically that you're most interested in seeing again, or see where they go?
Again, Ski Older, man. I think
Really? Wow.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean he's one of those characters that's like he's definitely a bridge. What is he the name? What king is he from a Danish
Denmark.
king?
Denmark, yeah.
Denmark? Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So I think he has definitely a lot of potential. Like where the hell is he gonna go? You
Interesting.
know what I'm saying? Like Boda, why the hell didn't she go with Atreus at the end of the
Hmm.
game? That's what I'm wondering, you
Well,
know?
hell is gonna come at some point. Um,
You think so?
oh, there's hints towards it in Ragnarok. Like on Ironwood, there's like a big medallion that you run on
Oh
with
yeah,
Angrboda,
yeah,
and
I saw your
there's yeah,
video.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Hell is on it, and the
Mhm.
ego is looking for a replacement right now. Who's gonna become Hell? I mean, but the thing is, that's a plot line that's so far ahead in the future. Like Atreus needs to be an adult man, Angrboda needs to be an adult person for them to have a child, right? And for that child to grow up enough to be considered, I don't know. Also, like Hell is half dead, so it's interesting how they plant seeds for Norse stuff now, which definitely
Even though it's
guarantees.
over, right?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
over,
oh
right?
yeah, the Norse saga is definitely over now. What about
What
like,
do you think about since you mentioned like murals, like whatever happened to Odin's brothers? Because they were on the mural in 2018.
yeah,
Uh, but they're
I
not
mean,
in Ragnarok
I
or in the battle at all. So
my head canon. I think someone mentioned also that he probably killed them because
mm,
of jealousy, basically, and being scared that they're gonna take over. So I don't think it's
mhm.
outside the realm of possibility that he just murdered them at some point after
Yeah,
establishing.
Odin's
Well, yeah, no, I mean it's so Odin
yeah.
to do. Like they killed
Uh-huh.
Ymir together, and then they established Asgard, and he's like, I don't want you guys here. You guys are as powerful as me, and I want the power. So I mean, it's like a lame excuse, I guess, uh,
Now
at
that
the
you
same,
actually mentioned that, like, didn't Odin send one of the other gods to oh shit, what was it? Vanaheim to like just die? Forgot
yeah,
what god it was.
um,
Name started with an H.
Honir,
Odar.
Honir.
Oh yeah, yes. There we go. There
Hmm.
we go. Yeah, so wow, that makes perfect sense. That is an Odin's
I
character.
mean, yeah, I mean that's just obviously there's so many gods that were mentioned, not shown, that it's like
Mhm.
they didn't even try. But also, I understand completely in Ragnarok because there's so many characters in Ragnarok. There's a million characters. There is
Mhm.
way too many characters, and to add even more characters, so like throw it. Oh, here's like Bragi. Here's Forseti. Here's like I don't even know Uller, whatever. Have all of them. Like I mean, they could have them as like background NPCs basically, and they still
That's what I
can.
thought they was gonna
They
do.
still can do that in the future. I think that's interesting. Like Asgardians survive Ragnarok, right? They're hanging out in
Mhm.
Vanaheim. They're mortal people. There's definitely going to be tension there at some point, which is I kind of like came up with a third Norse game in my head at one point.
Hey, yo, you gotta tell us now. You
Yeah,
should
yeah.
mention it.
Well,
I want to hear.
it's basically I want to make it a little more. In my mind, I call it God of War Civil War. But basically, it's about like uh, the struggle for establishing peace after Ragnarok. Because
Mm.
Ragnarok is such a devastating thing that impacted everyone in the realms that you can't really recover quickly from that. You can't say, oh, everything's good
Mhm.
now, because even in Valhalla, there are seeds towards all those things being wrong, like the dwarves. They still, like, Durlin's still not sure because they've been under Odin's thumb for so long. Like, how are they going to recover even economically? Like, there's like
Yeah, what do we
it's
do
more of
next? Where do we go from here?
a political element to it, right? They established a democracy, but can the people trust? Like, the system has been a certain way for so long, and basically, my idea was for Seti as the god of justice. He can bring up a fair point. Like you come in and
That's
you destroy our realm. We're living here. We're fine. We're living here. And Odin was like, you know, he wanted peace. He didn't want like obviously it's propaganda, but like there are people like Asgardians and like the dwarves that are like, yeah, correct. Yeah, we're our lives are
yeah,
much worse now than they were before Ragnarok. Like we're sitting in this jungle, there are wolves running around like wolvers, whatever.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
with these
yeah.
dirty hippie Vanir people, and like that's kind of the basis for a story that kind of pushes Kratos also as the god of war, because if there is a conflict within the realms, he needs to address it. That's his mess to figure
That's
out.
his problem
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah. I remember there was a line that really interested me with Tyr in Valhalla where he was saying, uh Kratos asked him like, why don't you want to be God of War again? And Tyr's like, oh, I'm too old. They see me as a relic of the past,
exactly.
right? It wouldn't make sense for me to once again take that throne. But Tyr kind of held shit together. Like everyone loved Tyr, right? They
Yeah,
came together and built what was it, the bridge,
the
Tyr's
temple.
temple.
Hmm.
Everybody came together to build it. So it's kind of like it has to kind of have a little political take to it. And I think
Yeah,
that Valhalla was trying their best to tell us that. It's really political how everyone in the realms is affected with Kratos kind of ruling over them
yeah,
now.
and I think I mean obviously another pantheon coming in is a perfectly viable option as well. But
Yeah.
you know, like my it's a fan fiction pretty much. I came up. I'm like Sindri,
Hey,
right?
that's what theories
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
man.
exactly. Like Sindri, what is his arc? Like, of course, he's gonna forgive Kratos at some point, but also he is in such an interesting position because he's the Odin killer. He killed Odin in this universe. That is a
Mm,
big deal, right? So there would be people who will hate him for that. Like I'm thinking, Vidar is the god of vengeance. He avenged Fenrir for killing Odin. Sindri killed Odin
yeah, yeah.
in the God of War,
Holy
and
sh.
he is like Sindri
Mhm.
is a badass now. And I'm thinking, what is Sindri's purpose ultimately? And I'm thinking, well, Durlin is scared to lead the people. The people from the rebellion, the old one, are traumatized and they're scared. And the dwarves need a leader, and Sindri needs a purpose. Maybe Sindri
Yeah,
can be the
remember that
new
line in
dwarf king, you know?
yeah, that line in the Ragnarok fight where he came out of the portal, he's like, no more dwarves' lives will
Yeah,
die, or some
exactly.
shit
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know? Kind of taking on this leader position. That's a good idea. I never actually thought about that.
Yeah, yeah. And like Thrud, she got Mjolnir now. That is very interesting to me personally. Like, I didn't really care much for Thrud as a character in Ragnarok, but now, like, that last thing they did with her, that is extremely intriguing. And
Mhm.
if the Aesir are a villain in the next game. That could be very interesting for Thrud as well, because she's now a shield maiden. She's officially like in, basically. She finally achieved her dream, and her first, or one of the first assignments is to subdue her own people, right? Like if the
Mm.
Aesir are
Yeah,
going rogue,
yeah.
that's a rogue, that's her family, and she's like using Mjolnir to like the giant killer weapon to, I don't know, not kill but subdue Aesir now. Like that's a, I don't know. I'm just
Which
feeling that's,
side are you gonna
yeah,
choose?
exactly. Like that's an interesting conflict for her to go through. So which that is why I'm kind of thinking that might be blasphemous for some
Do
people to
do
hear,
you
but
think that like as more Valkyries come in, will they keep following, Freya because she had like an active
yeah, yeah,
like
I think so. Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't think there are going to be any more rogue Valkyries, but there are people who think that the Shield Maidens will be like, you're subduing our freedoms, whatever, if we're getting political. With the
Mhm.
Aesir, the Aesir want justice for Ragnarok. They don't feel like they're being treated fairly. And there
Mhm.
is no really easy solution to that because Asgard has been it's exploded, it's gone,
It's
right?
fucked up,
Yeah,
yeah.
and now there are these shield maidens who like try to keep peace, and one of them is an Aesir, well, goddess, really, the daughter of Thor of all people. So I
Mhm.
just feel like I don't know. There's potential in a Norse third game, like strictly, right? I just want more Norse
I love
stuff,
it.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so disappointing to me when they said this is the last Norse game, right? It's kind of like I get it, right? Game development takes a very long
Yeah,
time, but
yeah,
man, there's so much story here that
of
they can continue
course.
to go,
Which is
right? I want more lore on the mask. First off, it's like
yeah,
where the fuck does that shit even lead?
yeah.
Like all of these questions and these open-ended stories, especially in like the books and stuff, they can definitely bring that up. Uh,
Cuba's saying Kratos is going to face revolt when he starts taxing people.
Bruh.
I mean, it's kind of a part of it, right? Maybe Tyr is preparing Kratos for something bigger, since that's the excuse. That excuse is sort of lazy of him not being the god of war. I mean, the way they described the position of God of War in Valhalla, Mimir calls it an office. Like they call it like it's an
Yeah, yeah.
executive position, right? Like the
Yeah.
what a god is has kind of been diluted because there's a god as like a guy, a powerful being like Kratos. He wasn't a deity, right? In 2018, but he can still heal and everything. And then there is a deity, like a part of a pantheon. Those are like two different things. Hola, fellow gamers. Hello, history behind the warrior. Haven't talked to you in a while.
Hey.
Yeah, nice to see some people here. I wonder how Fenrir will be in the next game, since he won't have his mind of a pup, and he has realm travel powers. Oh, that's interesting. What if
That
they're
is
powerful enough
interesting.
to myth travel? I mean, that's not a bad idea. But I think the Unity Stone makes the most sense to
You
me
gotta feed
personally.
it. You gotta feed him the Unity Stone. That's how it works. You feed it to him. That's
I
it.
mean, actually, I mean, you gotta have like
It could work.
if you're going open world, you gotta like I don't know, you gotta have a
Fast
ride,
travel
right?
system, right?
Yeah, you gotta have a ride. Let me see. Okay,
Call the dog.
so with the changes in the mythology comes a question of change of gameplay. Uh, Obviously, last time we went from Greece to New Scandinavia, everything is different. I How much do you think they're gonna change when they introduce new pantheons?
I put out a Twitter post like yesterday, and somebody mentioned the camera, right? Whether there's gonna be a cut camera again, or do they want to go like full on like God of War 3-ish?
Mm-hmm.
How is the camera gonna be focused? And I think with a new mythology and a new story, I think they have to change things up, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think Ragnarok is cool. I do love the combat in Ragnarok. In my opinion, it's much better than 2018. But I definitely think it's time to change it up, right? From 2018 to now. I don't know. I think it needs to be a big change with the camera and the mechanics and how everything works. It's getting a little bit too familiar, and
Mm.
I think that's one of the criticisms from 2018 to Ragnarok is it feels too samey, right? A lot of journalists and people like that were saying that, and I
Interesting.
do have to agree in some way. Uh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much, but I definitely want something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I mean, I don't. I agree with you. I think it's interesting because if Atreus again, if when Atreus is going to get his own game, I think they can overhaul his gameplay quite a lot. Uh, I'm thinking again, Jedi Survivor is kind of the perfect system for Atreus, a more classic third person. He's so much more agile and small. He can like zip around. He can jump around. There can be climbing. We can like go back to the Greek God of War roots. Obviously, it's Stig's game, so there is the Greek God of War DNA in that. They could even do stealth, really. If it's done well. I know you kind of almost started rolling your eyes when I said that, but I mean it's possible. Like I'm thinking Ghost of Tsushima, right? It's awesome combat, but also the stealth is pretty great. I mean Loki, right? I don't know. I want shape shifting abilities. I want to fight as
They
animals.
have to have
That's
shapeshifting,
what I want.
right? There's no way. I want them to have like a little menu that lets you pick what animal you want to be for like your loadout
Yeah.
or whatever. I think that would be pretty fucking
I mean,
cool.
yeah,
Right?
that's
That's how I
exactly
envision.
what I like. Have a wheel of animals you unlock. Yeah, no, I think that could be
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
With Kratos, it's a little trickier. I mean, we had those are long games, but we only had 2 games with a new camera system. Greek style, we had 6. I think they
That's
can.
crazy to think about.
Yeah, right. I mean, the amount of content within those 2 games is kind of equal. All the 6
Yeah.
Greek games, really. But um, I can imagine them tweaking stuff. It would be funny if they like had one like no cut camera in Norse and then they go to a different mythology and the camera style changes. I mean, that could be pretty interesting.
It's like a whole different universe
Yeah,
you go
yeah. I
into.
mean, I'm thinking going forward, they're definitely gonna do changes to Kratos's gameplay, to the camera system. They're gonna tweak it according to what the people are saying, what they're feeling themselves. But there's also, something we haven't really touched upon, and that's the Faye prequel that not everyone wants, but it's really something
Yeah.
that's on everyone's mind a lot. And I feel like that's
You're
kind
gonna
of
make me talk for hours when you bring that
hey,
up,
I'm,
man.
I'm here for it. That's why I'm here too.
Uh-huh.
But like, I think that I think that would retain the Norse saga style. There's a lot of, you know, if we need that Norse itch scratched still, that
Listen,
I
God of
think.
War is known for its prequels, right? Like we have like what 3 prequel
Oh
games,
yeah.
and Betrayal, if you want to consider Betrayal, a game. But I don't know. There's so much story they can continue to have. I think with Faye, right? Like
Hmm.
you have conflict with Brock and Sindri. We can see them arguing because at that time period they don't like each other very much,
Right.
right? They're building Leviathan Axe and they're arguing nonstop, right? Giants are dying. Like she has to,
Hmm.
we can see giants die. How like this body get in the Lake of Nine in 2018, right? We can see those seeds kind of come out
Yeah.
with the Faye story,
Yeah.
a Faye prequel. Right? And I think like a theme with the Faye games is that like Faye, she kind of fails a lot.
Yeah.
Right? I've thought about this a ton, right? Faye's story is all about failure and persistence, but still finding failure. The revolution with like Durlin,
Hmm.
her not be able to tell the Giants and Jotunheim to come home to the point where Ragnarok established they kind of gave up. Right? There was like eventually Odin is gonna find his way in here and kill us all, so we're gonna put our souls
Yeah.
in these marbles
Hmm.
to hide from them, essentially. Right? So her story, she her revolution fails. She fails to bring the Giants back. She can't keep their promise to them. And then what do we learn in like 2018 and Ragnarok? That she kind of just disappeared one day.
Yeah.
Right? Sindri doesn't know what happened to her. Tyr in the book says he only heard stories of her. No one knows. And we learned that she was just in a forest kind of wandering, and that's when she met Kratos.
Right.
Right? So she failed so much,
Yeah.
and then she's like, I'm just gonna walk through this forest and just give up, And then she meets Kratos, they fight.
Hmm.
And then we know the story from there. So
Yeah.
I think there's so much story that they can
Of
have
course,
with Faye.
100%. I mean, you didn't even mention the crater. That's like her biggest failure in a
Oh
way.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
I think that's like
parallel.
the end of her story.
I made a video
Right
about it.
before.
I like made a whole big theory slash fan fiction video. I can send it to you later. And it brings up a lot of things that you mentioned. Like she fails all the time, and the crater is like her God of War 3 moment where she like gives into
Yeah.
anger and she forgets
She
that.
finds Thor.
Yeah, she fights Thor and people die because of her anger, and that's the opposite of what she wants. And of course, it's an interesting idea also because she kind of bets on Kratos and Atreus, really. Like the reason why she's like, I'm gonna stop fighting. I'm gonna let the Odin kind of take over the realms. I'm gonna go into hiding because I mean she's also a seer. We don't know how far in advance she knew what's gonna happen, but at a certain point, she just gave up. She went to hide in the woods in Midgard, and you would
Mhm.
assume that at that point she's like, okay, I can't do it myself, but if I like obviously her son is going to be
Mhm.
instrumental in bringing Odin to justice and also bringing her people back, as we will probably find out in the Atreus game, but also like Kratos, right? So she chooses, instead of fighting, she chooses like to nurture this like scared,
Uh-huh.
terrifying man. It's like to love him and to make to fix, like I can fix him, right? To
Yeah,
the
I can
point
fix
I
them,
can
right?
fix him to the point where he is, healed enough to start his own process and eventually become the Norse god of war and lead the realms into Ragnarok. I mean, there's definitely a lot they can explore
Yeah,
with that.
when what you said before is like, she believed in them so much. I remember in the prequel comics that they actually had a neighbor, right? And Faye went to this neighbor and she kind of, it's implied that she told this woman some things about Kratos because
Mm-hmm.
when Kratos meets her, she's speaking Kratos's language. She kind of knows who he is.
Mm-hmm.
She literally dies for Atreus to protect him. She gives her life for Atreus, right? And it's like the only way she could know that is Faye, right? Because even Atreus says, "Oh, I met this woman because mom took me to her a few times in
Mm-hmm.
the past,"
Interesting.
right? So it's like there's just so much shit that they can have for a Faye game, and I don't understand why they don't just just do it. Just hire me and you and just do it.
We
There you go.
got listen, I have a video, I have a 3 act structure laid out and everything. They can just take it. I'm okay. You don't need to pay me
Yeah.
none anything. Just give me, I want more Thor. I want a little more Odin. I want more of those people. I want more of that world. That's like all I want, really. Warriors
I
saying,
kind of imagine Faye being like, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna read the comment. Like, my only wish in terms of change it is seamless weapon transitions like the older games. Build upon the current foundation with added layers that rewards game knowledge while still being approachable. I mean, I
Have that, don't they?
yeah, it's pretty seamless in my in my eyes.
Yeah.
Cuba asks us if we want underwater section back. No,
Oh
no,
no, I hate water
no,
levels in video games.
no.
Like if a video game has a water level that's not Super Mario, I'm not playing it.
Right.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I didn't like it in 3 either.
Yeah. Hopefully there is God of War trilogy remake. Well, yeah, of course we gotta bring that up. I mean, again, it feels like a when, not an if, really. which
Mhm.
is which is why I wanted to talk to you because there's so much stuff to potential stuff, right? Kratos game, Atreus game, Faye game,
Yeah.
remakes.
Remaster
There's
collection
right.
remakes,
There's
yeah.
so much stuff that could possibly happen. Would also be super cool to see Asgard and Midgard during its prime when Freya was with Odin and stuff. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that all over the place. Uh-huh. Oh, you know what bothers me so much about is that fact that we have a Faye model, right? And she didn't really do a whole lot in the game. She has a whole model, a whole actress.
Well,
We're just gonna let those assets burn? Like, come
that's
on,
that's
man.
exactly what I was thinking. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
Deborah Ann Wall. She's a pretty prolific actress. Like she's in stuff. She's in it for 3 minutes total. I mean, it's an important role. There's some serious acting going on, but like you cast her, you have a character model and everything.
Yeah,
You can
exactly,
have
yo.
Leviathan axe, you can have a bow, you can have some cool giant stuff.
Mhm. There's potential with Faye's
Build it.
foresight in terms of game mechanics. I don't know how they would do it, but I don't have like a rewind effect or some dumb shit. I don't know, but but you have so much there that can add to
Yeah.
this story. If they would make the story, do you think they start with the Leviathan axe or like start with like a random sword and then you have to find Rock and
Yeah,
Sindri and then they give you the axe?
I know Cuba really talks about it a lot. I bring it up as well in my video, but one of the most interesting historic events in Norse God of War is the battle for Tyr's Temple when Jormungandr shows up. And I think Jormungandr is going to be it should be a very important part of the Faye story. Uh,
Mhm.
in terms of
Yeah, the Giants
lore,
mentioned in that show.
yeah,
Like I think that's 2018.
in terms of lore, that happens before she gets the axe because, as we remember, Sindri calls the Leviathan because of Jormungandr is like Rise Leviathan in the podcast, right? So
Mhm.
it would be interesting kind of that's almost like a starting battle, I guess. If we're really strictly following the lore that they established, they can like just switch things around. It's not that big of a deal. But if we're being like scholars about this, like that sounds like a
Yeah, we all
big
are.
starting battle, right? We have Aesir, we have all the realms, we have Tyr being captured by Odin, and we have Jormungandr just like falling in, which completes like his arc. Because we've seen so much of Jormungandr's life. We saw him get thrown into the past. Now we just got to see him fall, right? And from
Yeah,
there,
I
we kind of go and Brock and Sindri develop the Leviathan for Faye, like
Mhm.
at the start of Act 2 or something like that, you know?
And one of the interesting things about Yarmungandr is in 2018, you talk to one of the spirits, and he's like the serpent falling out of nowhere kind of caused the desolation to happen,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
the serpent's appearance also fucked up the Lake of Nine,
right.
uh, beyond repair, right? And it's like we could actually see that, right? We can see, the area kind of having lush and full of life, the world serpent appearing and everything just fucking dying,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
it adds so much again to Faye's theme of failure because, I mean, she tried
Hell yeah.
hard. She worked with Tyr. I know he said that he hasn't met Faye in the cookbook. I don't
Yeah,
like
we talked
that.
about this before.
Fuck that.
Yeah,
I
we
don't.
talked
I
about
want
this.
them to be together. Not together,
Mhm.
like just working together, like just helping the giants escape and so on. And
Totally
then
agree
and
with you,
then
man.
like the biggest beacon of hope, the temple, Tyr's temple, and Tyr himself are just gone. And Faye is on her own now. There's a desolation. Midgard is in shambles. There's a major victory for the Aesir, and that's the setup for the game. Like that's I don't know. I don't know. There's so much interesting stuff to explore
Yeah,
with that.
man. Like have an emotional Faye who's kind of lost everything, who's failed at everything, just track her way into Vanaheim, sit down at a fucking table and talk to Thor like a normal person, getting angry, and then shit hits the fan and she ends up losing the fight and just like escaping. And then that's when you see Freya kind of, because if I remember correctly, Freya actually saw Faye for a brief moment.
Yes.
Uh So fuck it, end it with that, and that's when Faye disappears and meets Kratos, and there's a boss fight with Kratos. That's what I personally
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I mean that feels like the ending of the game to me because that's like connective tissue because like she experiences so much failure, so much loss. We see what she goes through, and then we see her meet Kratos, who is equally tired and sad and lost at this time. And I just feel like it could be a very I don't know, very poetic ending where we understand their love much more than we already have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Atreus said like they did kind of just stopped fighting, so they can have like this clash.
Yeah.
After like the boss fight and all the shit is destroyed all around them, and they have this clash, and then they just kind of have like a moment, right? And then they just stop. Kratos walks off in his zone, and like Faye kind of like follows him because he's like, "Who the
Yeah,
fuck
you're
is
like,
this
why
random
are we
god just
doing
walking
this, right?
around?"
We're just like,
Yeah,
it's our instinct to fight, but we don't want to fight anymore. Like, what are we doing
yeah.
this?
I remember Corey, he said in an interview like a while ago, like before Ragnarok was coming out, he was like they were both in a place where they just didn't want to fight anymore, and they saw
Mm-hmm.
through the reasons why
Right.
they didn't want to fight. So it's like, why isn't this shit happening? I don't know. I
Hey,
don't know.
the reason is it
Uh,
takes a long time to make a video game these
yeah.
days. It sucks. I mean,
Yeah.
someone asked, I wonder if we'll get a remake or a master announcement at the Game Awards. I'm thinking showcase for PS5 Pro, maybe. How about that? Why not that?
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like the remake is the closest thing. If we are to order things in order, like if all of those things are
Oh, go
happening,
ahead. I want to hear your prediction. This
so
is it,
okay,
man.
okay. Here we go. Uh, I know Santa Monica's listening. I know the community people are probably here. So listen up. March 2025, God of War's 20th anniversary. You release the collection, the remake. You announce it now in September. Release it March. Okay, don't announce it in March. Release it in March. Uh,
Mhm.
if you announce it in March, I mean, fine, I guess, but whatever. Now, I think Atreus game is the next one coming. Kratos' arc is complete for now. This chapter is over. It's very satisfying what we went through with Kratos in Valhalla. Now it's time for Atreus. Uh, Loki game, new mythology. shape
Mhm.
shifting, blah blah blah. Find the giants. Then I feel like a fake game would be appropriate.
You're gonna put it on the list for sure. You're locking it in.
For all those reasons. I mean, I know it's a while until we see Kratos again, but I just feel it's just after Ragnarok came out, the end of Ragnarok, I'm like, there's something missing, right? He sees the new future in the mirrors, like I see a path, one I could never imagine. Back then, I was like, I want to see that path, but then boom, Valhalla comes out, and I'm like, I'm happy. Like Kratos is in a great place right now. Like I know everyone wants Kratos all the time. I'm okay with taking a little break from Kratos. I want to see him again soon for sure. But I think for Santa Monica, it's a good spot to kind of take a break from him for a little bit. Show us Atreus, what he's up to, make him fun to play as. Uh, give us more Norse stuff with Faye, and then Kratos expand the mythology, show him as the god of war. That's kind of my. I know a lot of people would disagree with that. Probably they'll say you're wrong, and we need to have Kratos all the time. I think it's okay to
I-
experiment.
I'm kind of I'm kind of in agreement with you. I think definitely a collection should come out first for the 20th anniversary. 100%. But for me, I think the next thing should be like a Faye DLC, right? You got the father Kratos and you got the mother Faye. I'd switch it up there with those
Hmm.
two. And it's a DLC, so you know, it doesn't take too long to
Right,
make it at the end
right.
of the day, right? I think right after that, I think they're gonna announce a remake. Like I'm gonna lock it in there, right? Instead of a Faye, because I want a Faye game, but I don't think they're gonna go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think a remake is more business wise. Everyone's gonna fucking buy that shit, right? Every God of War fan, new and old, is gonna buy it. Because even in my personal life, I don't talk about video games with a lot of people in my circle,
Mm.
but they've actually never played the first God of War games,
Right.
right? They've played 2018, they've played Ragnarok, they never experienced the first games, right? And I think if they're gonna skip out on a remaster, they'll definitely buy a remake, 100%. Uh, so that's what I think. I think those three, and then you get Atreus DLC, right? A lot of people's gonna disagree with that because I want more Kratos, right? Where's Kratos?
Right.
But like you said, we got the remake Kratos, so that's my list. That's my prediction
I
right
mean,
there.
I guess if we're assuming there's going to be another DLC for Ragnarok, Faye makes the most sense because the systems don't need to change that much. The weapons are there, the bow is there, the axe is there, the characters can all be the same design pretty much. Thor
Yeah.
will definitely look exactly the same, and so on. Brock and Sidri look the same for hundreds of years, apparently. So I think that makes a decent amount of sense to me as well. Yeah. There was a comment. Oh, I blame the God of War TV show for taking Corey away from the games. He would have made the Norse games a trilogy. Um, well,
Hasn't every God of War game kind of have different directors? I think Corey's the only repeat one, so
Corey was so burnt out by 2018. You can watch Crazy Kratos. He would have probably shot himself if he had to do Ragnarok. I'm sorry. Like this is it's like he did not make Ragnarok. So the decision to make it a trilogy, I mean, it came from him at the end of the day. It's not Eric's decision. Eric wanted to do a trilogy. Corey just, I mean, he said what he said. It takes 5 to 7 years to make a AAA game now. Like imagine
they don't
like
want
working on the
developers
same
working on them.
story. Like right now, if God of War the Norse was a trilogy, we'd be in the middle waiting for a third game, and it wouldn't come out until like 3 years from now.
2026, 2027. It's
Yeah,
crazy to think
that's
about.
like 10 years, like 9 years after 2018 came out. That's so long. I mean, it's unfortunate. I think the making a dual sacrificed a lot. But now we're in a position where there's so much potential for a lot of different stuff, right? For the studio,
Yeah.
because they 3 games of Norse games would be the same gameplay, roughly the same worlds, the same characters. Now they have a lot of choices. They can do a Atreus game,
Yeah.
new mythologies, explore new stuff, just generally, not get stuck on the Norse stuff. I
Mhm.
understand where he's come from. I don't necessarily agree. I don't necessarily prefer it, but I understand. The TV show, yeah, it's confusing. I don't know what's going on with that. There's I don't know what Corey's doing really. Is there a new IP as
I'm
well?
excited for it, but yeah. Yeah, I heard the rumors about a brand new IP that they're working on as well. So there's
Yeah,
that.
it's yeah, I don't know how true any of these rumors are. I don't know how long things have been in development. When will Santa Monica announce? Because Valhalla was like a separate thing. That was like 30 people. So meanwhile, there's like several teams now. So I think they're working on two games at least at the same time, and they have a DLC team. So I don't want to, I don't want to get too excited and say we're getting an announcement this year, but
Oh, absolutely. I don't think so.
no,
It's one of those things where it's like you want it, but you have to remember the state of gaming right now. It's not going to happen this
no,
year. Maybe
no.
next year,
Yeah,
100%. But
next year I think it's likely, but you can announce the remake this year.
remake is simple,
Yeah,
man. Like,
I mean it's not that
yeah,
simple,
that
but
mhm.
the I know you're a
It's
big.
less work than like a whole other separate
I mean, yeah,
project.
certainly. I mean, I know you're a big Metal Gear fan, and you're very excited for the Delta remake, right? Uh,
Yes.
yeah, and that's pretty much what I think they should approach God of War. Like they even have the original
Mhm,
voice lines, right, for all the characters. I don't know if
mhm.
they're redoing all the environments and stuff, but I feel like that's the perfect approach to a remake in general. Like just
Yeah.
that eliminates the
Something
TC
like God of War
Carson
3,
issue.
how do you like make God of War 3 look better, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, it's like 60 frames is what obviously you can go for, but not a lot of people have access like 4K TVs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like God of War 3 was on the PS4,
3.
I believe. It was PS3, yeah, and then you could play it on the PS4 and the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's like, how do you make that game better? It looks really good already.
I see ways. I mean, if you look at
Mhm.
Helios in Valhalla compared to how he looks in God of War 3, I think the faces
Mm,
specifically that could do. I mean, Kratos looks fantastic. I mean, they honestly like when you're in it, it feels like it hasn't aged at all. But you can point things out like Helios's face in God of War 3 looks a little. His teeth
There's
are
some
kind of
angles
a
into it.
little PS3 ish. I mean, it's like obviously minimal updates. Like make it shinier, make it more. I don't know, not realistic. I mean, they're like you said, it's not a massive job, I
Mhm.
guess. It's hard to imagine. Like Ascension and 3 look perfectly fine even today.
Yeah. How do you feel if they went the Konami route, where they had like a Metal Gear collection of 1, 2, and 3, but they didn't really improve it at all, right? Those games are still 720p and everything like that, which is terrible. But
Um,
would you still be interested in a God of War trilogy if they would release it with no minimum
I
upgrades?
mean,
It's just you could play it
of
on
course, I'd
PS5
be
and
interested. I feel like
Mhm.
the bare minimum is release exactly the same games, but just hopefully improve the performance, right? Like allow better quality, better frame rate. Everything else is the same,
Mhm.
like you would stream it on PS. Just make the streaming games available to buy or
Yeah.
download. That's it. Like
I
that's
will never stream a God of War game on PS3
it's
ever
not
again. That's a nightmare.
yeah, I mean I have a PS3, it's like collecting dust, it's like 1,000 years old, and streaming stuff is just not ideal. Like that's just the bare minimum, right? Obviously the
Mhm.
maximum amount of effort is the Delta remake route, where they
Yeah.
do it, they shot for shot remake, basically modern graphics, modern audio quality. That's also a big part of it because the
Mhm.
old God of War games, it's still PS2 sound. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, it's a little outdated now. I would like a refresher on that front.
Mhm.
But
Speaking of remakes, would you prefer if they added stuff? Because like popular remakes, like the Resident Evil series,
mhm.
when they remake a game, they add a little bit of dialogue, a whole new kind of storylines that kind of fit in with what was previously made. How would you feel if they went that route with remakes?
Right. I mean, me and Cuba talked about this before as well. It's hard for me as a person who spent so much time studying this universe to say, yeah, change shit up. Like,
New
uh,
lore.
yeah, new lore, just add like Demos to God of War 3, add Atlantis back into God of War 2. Yeah, yeah, add Sparta in God of War 2, add all that stuff, whatever. It's difficult, obviously, because these games for me and you and for people watching are so sacred the way they are. It's
Yeah.
I mean, it's, in terms of storylines, there's definitely stuff that can be improved and added. Uh
Hmm.
it's it's a it's hard for me to agree to it, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
they find a way to do it right, if they find a way to add stuff, maybe they make Kratos' arcs in those games a little more well-rounded. Maybe they explore him a little bit better.
Like you did
But
in Valhalla.
yeah, but the point of these games are the same, right? Then
Hmm.
I would be perfectly fine with it. It's a risk that they gotta measure. My initial gut instinct say no, do it exactly as it was, but
Hmm.
obviously if they see a way to contribute to what already exists, not change things, not detract from it, but add and make it more substantial, then sure, yeah.
For me, I'm kind of like I'm on the fence about it a little bit, just because with the Resident Evil series, when they add stuff, they make it better, right? Those games are better because of the stuff that they added.
Mm,
But then when the Metal Gear Delta remake got announced, I was so scared that they were gonna add shit. You don't understand, like with the God of War series, I've analyzed Metal Gear to death.
mm-hmm.
So for them to add shit, I was like, oh hell no. So when they said that they wouldn't, I was like, yeah. So I'm kind of conflicted, right? It can make the story better. At the same time, it's a very slippery slope. You add too
Exactly.
much, devolve the game a bit, right? If you add too little, it's like, what's the point of even adding stuff in the
Mm-hmm.
first place?
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I don't know. I'm very conflicted when it comes to them adding stuff to a potential remake. So I don't know. That's my point of
Yeah.
view.
Uh, Cuba's saying there's only one addition to God of War 1 that I would like to see. Not gonna say it yet, lol. I mean, it's the
The
Hades
fuck?
spikes. You gotta fix that. That's like the one thing. Like, they gotta fix the Hades blades, right? Because that wasn't play tested properly, but now they can, I don't know, fix it.
I never even use those weapons, to be honest
No,
with you.
no,
I
no.
don't
I
think I've
mean,
ever.
the God of War 1 spikes when he climbs up the beams.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
guess.
I remember some guy last year said 2024 is going to be amazing for God of War fans. Half the year is gone, nothing new about God of War. That was Mojica. He said it's going to be a great year. I mean, we got the board game. It's pretty cool. There's
I
like
mean, come on. Yeah, it's a board game. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, totally.
a
That's
board
exactly what I
game.
want.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, again, the half a year is still left, right? PlayStation Showcase definitely happening later. Game Awards, whatever. Gamescom, I don't think they would announce anything, but there's still time. There's still time for them to announce something cool. Cuba's saying I heard rumors of big showcase happening in August or September. Yeah, that's what everyone believes. If we're
Yeah,
getting
that's what I
something
heard
for the
too.
anniversary, it would be a place to review something. That's exactly what I'm thinking as well.
Mhm.
SMS has been posting a lot of God of War Ragnarok clips and hiring. They are hiring all the time.
Non-stop. They've been posting that shit
They're
non-stop.
growing really, really much, very much. Like they were 100 people, I would say, in 2018. Now they're at least 250. I think they're
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
actually 400 people now. 'Cause they're like growing. Like there's definitely two
Mhm.
games in development at the same time. Uh, oh
God
no,
of War Ragnarok was like really financially successful. I forgot like the units
it
it
sold
sold.
15 million. Yeah, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
And
Holy
the
shit.
budget was $200 million. They definitely made some money back. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. And
That's how they
also,
can afford free DLC.
I mean, that's yeah, exactly. I mean, it's interesting because Corey reposted an article by Jason Schreier about why it makes sense for the DLC to be free, and he talked about how the Ghost of Tsushima Legends mode, the multiplayer is free as well. It just adds
Mhm.
it just makes more people buy the game. Basically, it's just like
Mm.
you don't know, but now then you get the incentive to come back and keep playing. Maybe you recommend it to someone, that kind of thing. Like they would have made so much fucking money from Valhalla if I would have paid $20 for that. I would have been perfectly fine with that.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
they
of
didn't, and
course.
obviously, like we didn't need to do anything. But who knows how many people bought it because of the Greek stuff, or because of the roguelike nature of it, or because it's just feels like a even fuller package than it already is. And Ragnarok is a massive game.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah,
Cuba's
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
"Oh no,
I think
mid."
that's what really lived it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a new character addition. Don't worry about Athena. It's not Athena. Athena is already in the game. So a new character. Are you talking Artemis? Do you want to ascension this stuff, or are you talking about the Oracle of Athens, like in the movie? Because Jaffe said the Oracle of Athens was going to be a big part of the God of War
Mm.
movie. It's going to be God of War TV show trailer. They haven't started filming yet. They haven't even announced the cast yet. They're not shooting that yet,
Which
I
is
don't think.
crazy because it was announced like what 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
almost, yeah. Uh-huh.
Just
I don't
crazy,
know
man.
what's going on with that. I'm a little skeptical. I'm not going to lie. I'm worried about that.
Mm.
It
You think it's gonna be canceled?
uh we haven't heard it yet. They canceled the Horizon show, but that's because the
I'm actually really sad about that. I know a lot of people don't really care about Horizon. They feel like they just picked a random PS IP to expand on. I don't know. I really like Horizon. I was kind of upset
uh-huh.
about
I
that
mean,
news. I don't
that's
know.
because of the showrunner. He was problematic. But they might pick it up. They might get someone else to do it. I don't know. And Netflix was doing it, so I don't know. But
Hmm.
whew, we've been doing a lot of
Yeah.
talking.
Oh man, I don't know, man. I'm really excited about like God of War Ragnarok.
Hmm.
I like Norse is over apparently, right? I'm still kind of bummed about it,
Is it?
but I think where they can go is I'm really excited.
Yeah.
And they've been posting little like they're working on something.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Sorry, you
Oh, man.
glitched for a second. Yeah. I
Mhm.
guess last Cool Saver is asking what mechanics you want for an Atreus game. We kind of touched upon it. Shape shifting, 100%. A new weapon.
An actual melee weapon. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I'm
That's. I
tired
mean,
of the bow,
I would. I
man.
would. I don't think. I think for Atreus, like a return to jumping and platforming and that kind of stuff, I think it makes a lot of sense. So that
A
kind of.
jump button, the
Yeah,
best
a
mechanic.
jump
Bring it
button.
back.
Yeah, a crazy
Jump
mechanic.
button. Let's go.
Wow, wow. I mean, who's good
Oh
enough for
man.
play Kratos' role? The Rock? No. Batista. I want Batista. I think he would be very good.
Yeah, I like The Rock, but let's be honest, like he doesn't really have that emotional
No,
range.
no,
Batista is an incredible actor.
that's right. Yeah, that's my Danny DeVito. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Triple H. I've seen some people say they want Triple
I
H
mean,
as Kratos.
is he an actor? Like, can he act at all? Like, I don't really. I'm not a wrestling guy, but like, he looks like Kratos, definitely. But can he perform?
Mhm.
Okay, I see.
I don't know. No. Get Christopher Judge
Yeah.
to play Kratos. Just put some
Well,
makeup on him.
that's the problem with it because you can get everyone back except for Sonny because he's old now, and it would be an equally amazing thing. Which kind of makes like, what's the point of having a TV show then if it's all the same actors and it's all the same? Like, that's kind of the
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Anything else to add? I feel like it's. I'm good to
I
wrap
think
up here. Yeah. We
yeah, I think we've explored almost
We've
every single
covered a
topic
lot
there's to
of
talk
covered
about.
a lot of ground, John.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for being here. Always a pleasure to talk
Man,
with you about God of War.
yeah, yeah, man, same. Like, I've always liked hearing your God of War thoughts. When you sent me the Hell video, and like there's actually some shit I fucking blew my mind. You don't understand. Like I was staring at that shit for so long. I was like,
Yeah,
it's right there.
yeah, I
So
know.
nah, it was always nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, there's so much. I
Mhm.
mean, it's kind of insane how much setup there is for stuff for the future. We don't know how much of it will be explored or used at all.
Mhm.
We still don't know how to blow the horn. Maybe we'll see it at some point.
Please, please. I'm so upset about that
And with
still. So
that,
I remember I was
we're
walking
leaving.
outside. I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like I'm just randomly thinking about this stuff. Then you got the serpent shit. I'm just like, why the fuck didn't they just answer it? If it's Balder, just have like a little mention it's Balder, right?
I
If it
mean,
was some other random character, just I'm tired of theorizing.
I trust them to
Mhm.
satisfy our desires. Let's say. I think it's gonna be a plot point, which is again why is Norse over? There's so much stuff to explore. Probably not. Anyway, we're kind of yeah. So
Yeah.
again, thank you guys so much for joining us. There's a lot of stuff to speculate on, a lot of stuff to expect and hope for.
Mhm.
Exciting time for God of War. Obviously, waiting sucks, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely things to look forward to. And Jon Ford is here, and that's awesome. Again,
Yeah, man.
thank you for
If you guys
coming.
want to check out my stuff,
Yes, yeah,
you can go to my channel, youtube.com/Jon Ford. I talk about a lot about God of War on Twitter as well. You can check me out, Jon Ford 543 on Twitter. Yeah, I'm gonna start making content more. I promise. I've Midgard actually brought me out of retirement with this
nice,
one.
nice.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
you made a Chains of Olympus video, which I was gonna do as well. Actually, I think the stuff we talked about, or the
Mhm,
stuff I was gonna talk about, is a little different. But I appreciate
mhm.
you appreciating Chains of Olympus' story, because there's definitely stuff to enjoy there.
Fucking underrated game. And when I posted a thread about it on Twitter, and a lot of people didn't really think about it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna talk about it more
Hmm.
in a video, and people seem to really like it. So
Yeah, I mean, odds are if you're subscribed to me or subscribed to John, that's kind of the law, you know.
that's
It's a like there. It doesn't make sense if you're not. Like, how is that possible? Anyway, again, this has been for too long. Luke, thank you so much for being here. Cuba, Cool Saver, Dean B, all of you, thank you so much. Deuces.
did you just say